A cordial greeting. Today is Wednesday, April 22, 2026. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia speaking. Before starting this video, I wanted to send greetings to all the followers. For several months and until the end of the 2025 hurricane season, I had not had the opportunity to record videos to talk about what we anticipate during the upcoming hurricane season. During this period, I have received several comments from you asking me when I would record a video, since typically during the months of March and April I would begin recording videos to discuss what we can anticipate during the upcoming hurricane season. It is only today that I have had the opportunity to record a video to begin talking about the upcoming hurricane season, and to preliminarily analyze how active or inactive it may be in the North Atlantic area, and also in the Eastern Pacific region. It is important to remember that in approximately 3 weeks, on May 15th, the Eastern Pacific hurricane season will begin, which promises to be quite active, as you will see during the next few minutes. While on the other hand, in the North Atlantic area, the hurricane season will officially begin on June 1st, although since May 15th the National Hurricane Center will begin issuing tropical outlooks to monitor any system that finds favorable conditions for development. However, and unlike the Eastern Pacific, everything seems to indicate that the Atlantic will have a hurricane season with cyclonic activity below normal due to several factors, and among them is the imminent development of the El Niño phenomenon in the Pacific region. And as you will see in the last part of the video, sea surface temperatures throughout the tropical Atlantic and in the Canary Current are at values somewhat cooler than normal. Before continuing, remember that a single hurricane is enough to cause a disaster. Therefore, and as we say every year, it is important that we all review our emergency plan to be ready from the beginning of this hurricane season. Once again, we will be providing information to all of you, and we are proud to share that we have already spent 4 years keeping you informed. Well, without further ado, in today's video I will be focusing on how sea surface temperature anomalies are in both the Pacific and Atlantic areas, and I will give details on how the future El Niño phenomenon is evolving and what effects it will have on the hurricane season in the Eastern Pacific and the Atlantic. I wanted to let you know that during the coming weeks I will continue recording other videos to talk about the forecasts that have come out so far, and I will more frequently update how the anomalies and the sea surface temperature pattern are changing. Now then, the first thing I want you to see is that in the equatorial Pacific zone, in general, sea surface temperatures are warmer than normal, particularly in the central western Pacific area. And just as had been projected, we are already beginning to see how the warm waters of the western Pacific begin to progress toward the east, and eventually we will begin to see the development of the El Niño phenomenon, which is anticipated to be a fairly strong one, and some projections indicate that we could have the phenomenon known as the Super El Niño. This means that it appears that the El Niño phenomenon will be quite strong during this year, and this will have impacts globally. But in particular, the hurricane season can be an indicator of an active hurricane season in the Eastern Pacific area and less active in the North Atlantic area. This is because the El Niño phenomenon generates wind shear across the Southwest Atlantic and the Caribbean Sea region, in addition to the warm temperatures that are found in the Western Pacific. The region toward the south and southwest of Baja California Sur draws attention, where currently we have temperatures well above normal, and this in combination with the future development of El Niño can give rise to very favorable conditions for hurricane formation toward the south and west of Mexico. And so that you have an idea of how warm the sea surface temperatures are in this area, I want you to look at the next image. As we can see in the legend, there are sectors toward the southwest of Baja California Sur that currently have temperatures at levels higher than what we have seen during the last 40 years. This also includes sectors toward the west of Nayarit, Colima, and Jalisco. And not only is it in this area, but also look at the equatorial zone of the Central Pacific, where we also have temperatures well above the average that has been seen during the last 43 years. This is definitely something very different from what we saw during the last 2 seasons where we had neutral conditions or the La Niña phenomenon with temperatures cooler than usual in the Niño 3.4 region and a tropical Atlantic and Caribbean Sea with temperatures warmer than normal. So currently we have the opposite of what we had last year. So that you can see how the warm temperatures are progressing in the Pacific and how they move toward the east, we can see a profile along the equatorial zone. In the following animation we can see below the surface where the warmer temperature anomalies are located, between 100 to 200 meters below the surface. We can see how these warm temperatures below the surface begin to move toward the east, and during the coming weeks, will be reaching the surface zone to the west of Central and South America. It is precisely at this moment, and probably by late May or early June, that we will finally see the development of El Niño. In fact, it can continue strengthening during the summer and the peak of the season. This is why in the most recent NOAA forecast there is over a 60% probability that we will have El Niño during the months of May, June, and July, while for the peak of the season the probability is between 90 and 93%. So basically this ensures that for the peak of the Atlantic season, that is, August, September, and October, El Niño will be developed and will potentially leave conditions unfavorable for hurricane development in the Atlantic, while it may favor hurricane formation in the eastern Pacific. In addition, something that draws attention at the atmospheric level is how the Madden-Julian oscillation is expected to behave, where the models project that by early May conditions of subsidence, dry and stable air can be established over the Atlantic, while conditions of atmospheric instability and rainfall would be established in the central Pacific area. And this is related to the effects that the El Niño phenomenon will have, where the formation of rainfall and low-pressure systems is favored in the Pacific, while dry conditions and little rainfall are favored in the tropical Atlantic. So that you have an idea of the magnitude of sea surface temperatures in the central Pacific zone, on average and just south of the Hawaiian Islands, you can see that currently temperatures are on average near 26.5 Celsius and well above what is normal, where temperatures should be near 25 Celsius for this time. In fact, when we look at historical values, we are currently at the warmest average temperatures since 1991. And not only is it in this area, but also when we move toward the eastern Pacific zone, we are currently also at average temperatures above 28 degrees Celsius and well above any record we have since 1991. So definitely, this is an indication that the El Niño phenomenon is coming, and if temperatures continue this warm toward the south and east of Mexico, we may be seeing the formation of more hurricanes than normal and with greater intensity. Now then, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, everything is different in the Atlantic area. In particular, look at this image at the blue colors that represent cooler than usual temperatures that are found in much of the tropical Atlantic and descending from the Canary Current, while the subtropical Atlantic area has temperatures well above normal. This is precisely the pattern that does not favor cyclone formation in the Atlantic, and a clear indicator that the hurricane season should remain below normal, not only due to the wind shear that the El Niño phenomenon will be causing, but also because the cooler temperatures in the tropical Atlantic should limit the formation of tropical cyclones and keep tropical waves weak. This can definitely be good news for the Caribbean area, Central America, the United States and eastern Mexico. For example, when we analyze on average the sea surface temperatures between the Caribbean Sea and Africa, they are currently near or just below normal for the season. And so that you have an idea, compare, for 2024, temperatures in this area were between 1.5 and 2 Celsius above what we have currently. So definitely a significant change compared to previous years. If we move to the Caribbean Sea area, also look that temperatures currently, although they are above normal, are still well below what was recorded in 2024. And although it could be argued that this would mean cyclone formation in the Caribbean Sea, remember that wind shear should be very strong if El Niño finally develops, and even more so if we have a super El Niño. The same is seen in the Gulf of Mexico area, where temperatures are somewhat warmer than normal, but like the Caribbean Sea, the area may have a lot of wind shear during the peak of the season. This is why it is not surprising that we see that the forecasts that have come out so far, including the forecast from Colorado State University, on average indicate that we will have a below normal hurricane season in the Atlantic region. And regarding the Pacific area, during the next few days I will record a video to talk about the predictions in this area, but I can tell you in advance that everything seems to indicate that it will be a fairly active season, and that is why residents of Central America and Western Mexico must be ready for this season. Well, that is all for today. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I will be more active recording videos during the coming days and weeks. So please do not forget to like this video. Also, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell so that you receive notifications when I record new videos. Share this video with family and friends so that they stay informed during this hurricane season. See you later.